Sometimes the greatest miracle doesn't begin with the person who gives. It begins with the person who has every reason to stop believing. The steady beeping of a heart monitor echoed through the pediatric wing of St. Matthew Medical Center, blending with the quiet footsteps of nurses and the soft hum of fluorescent lights overhead. Outside, a cold November rain painted long silver streaks across the hospital windows, turning the city into little more than blurred lights and distant shadows. Inside room 214, a little girl slept beneath a pale blue blanket, her tiny fingers wrapped loosely around a faded stuffed rabbit whose fur had long since lost its softness. Her name was Lily. She was 6 years old, and she had no idea how close her mother was to breaking. Emily, single mom number 7, sat beside the hospital bed without moving. Her cardigan still smelled faintly of coffee from the diner where she'd worked the breakfast shift before rushing here. Dark circles rested beneath her gentle eyes, yet every few minutes she forced herself to smile whenever Lily stirred, as though love alone could make everything okay. Children should never have to see fear on their mother's face, so Emily hid hers well. The hospital room door opened quietly. A doctor stepped inside, carrying a tablet against his chest. His expression was calm, practiced, but heavy enough that Emily instinctively stood before he spoke. "I'm afraid we've reached the next stage of treatment," he said gently. "The medication Lily needs isn't something we can delay much longer." Emily nodded. "I understand. There are financial forms waiting downstairs." Just one sentence. Simple, professional, but it landed heavier than any diagnosis. Emily lowered her eyes toward the folded envelope resting inside her worn canvas bag. She already knew what was inside. 3 overdue utility notices. An eviction warning she hadn't found the courage to open. $43.18. Everything she owned. She swallowed carefully. "I've been picking up extra shifts," she whispered. "Maybe, if I could have another week." The doctor offered a sympathetic smile that somehow hurt even more. "I truly wish I could make that decision." Silence settled between them. Not awkward, just unbearably honest. After he quietly excused himself, Emily remained standing, staring at the closed door as if it might suddenly reopen with better news. It didn't. Instead, Lily's sleepy voice floated across the room. "Mom!" Emily turned immediately. "Hey, sweetheart. Did I make you miss work again?" The question was so innocent, so painfully sincere, that Emily felt something tighten inside her chest. She walked over, brushing a loose strand of blonde hair away from Lily's forehead. "You never make me miss anything." Lily smiled weakly. "When I get better, I'll help you more." Emily laughed softly, though tears threatened to betray her. "You already do." She kissed the top of her daughter's head. "You make every hard day worth living." Minutes later, after Lily drifted back to sleep, Emily slipped quietly into the hallway. She leaned against the cool wall outside the room, closed her eyes, and finally allowed herself one slow, trembling breath. No tears. Not yet. She started crying now. She wasn't sure she'd know how to stop. Down the corridor, families hurried past carrying balloons, flowers, and takeout dinners. Somewhere nearby, a little boy laughed as a volunteer handed him a superhero sticker. Life continued. As if heartbreak had learned to share the hallway with hope, Emily reached into her bag and unfolded the payment estimate one last time. The total blurred before her eyes. It wasn't just impossible. It was more money than she could realistically earn in years. Her fingers tightened around the paper. Then, with quiet resignation, she took one slow step toward the billing office, preparing to sign the document that no mother ever wanted to sign. She prayed Lily would never know how helpless this moment had made her feel. Emily stopped outside the hospital billing office, her hand resting on the cold metal handle. Through the narrow window, she could see 2 employees quietly organizing paperwork, their computer screens glowing beneath the soft overhead lights. She took a slow breath. Then another. No matter how gently the conversation was spoken, numbers never became smaller simply because someone was kind enough to whisper them. Before she could open the door, a familiar voice called from behind. "Miss Bennett." Emily turned. The pediatric nurse who had cared for Lily all afternoon hurried toward her, wearing an expression that was equal parts confusion and relief. "There you are. We have been looking for you." Emily's heart immediately tightened. Is Lily all right? The nurse smiled. She is resting comfortably. Emily released the breath she had been holding. Then, what happened? The nurse looked down at the folder in her hands, flipping through several pages as though she expected them to change. I honestly do not know how to explain this. Emily frowned. What do you mean? The billing department asked me to bring you back upstairs. Emily blinked. I thought I needed to sign the financial agreement. So did we. The nurse gave a small puzzled laugh. But apparently, you no longer have one. For a moment, neither woman spoke. Emily simply stared. I am sorry, she said quietly. I do not understand. The balance has been cleared. Emily shook her head almost immediately. No. There must be a mistake. There is not. The nurse gently turned the folder around so Emily could read the final page herself. Across the bottom, where rows of overwhelming numbers had once appeared, only 2 words remained. Paid in full. Emily read them once. Then again. The letters refused to change. This cannot be right. It is. But who? The nurse slowly shook her head. There is no donor name. No foundation. No insurance adjustment. Nothing. Emily looked down the hallway, searching faces she had never noticed before. Visitors. Doctors. Custodians. Families carrying coffee. Everyone looked ordinary. No one looked like someone capable of changing another person's life in less than 5 minutes. Someone did this, she whispered. They asked to remain anonymous. Emily lowered the folder against her chest. Anonymous. The word somehow made the gift feel even larger. Not because of the money, because whoever had done this had expected absolutely nothing in return. A few floors above, inside the private executive medical suite, a tall man stood quietly beside a hospital window overlooking the rain-soaked streets below. CEO number 17 had spent the afternoon accompanying his elderly mother to a routine cardiology appointment. She was resting now, comfortably asleep after several hours of observation. His assistant stepped beside him. The pediatric account has been processed, sir. He gave a single nod. No one knows. No, sir. The billing department followed your instructions. No publicity. No acknowledgement. No record attached to your family office. He looked back toward the city lights shimmering through the rain. Good. His assistant hesitated. May I ask why this child? The question lingered between them. Finally, the billionaire answered. I watched that little girl apologize to her mother for being sick. His voice remained calm. But her mother apologized to everyone except herself. He paused. No parent should ever have to choose between hope and a hospital bill. Neither man spoke again. Some acts of kindness became smaller the moment they were explained. This was not one of them. Back on the pediatric floor, Emily quietly returned to Lily's room. She sat beside the bed once more, still holding the payment statement as though it might disappear if she let go. Lily opened her sleepy eyes. Mom! Emily smiled through eyes that had finally become too full to hide the truth. What happened? Emily reached for her daughter's small hand. A very kind person helped us today. Lily smiled softly. Did you say thank you? Emily looked toward the dark window where rain continued to fall across the glass. Her voice became almost a whisper. I did not get the chance. But somehow, I think they already knew. Morning arrived slowly, wrapped in a pale gray sky that still carried the last traces of the night's rain. The city was waking up, one coffee shop, one traffic light, one tired commuter at a time. Inside room 214, sunlight slipped gently through the blinds, painting soft lines across Lily's blanket. She looked stronger. Not completely well, but stronger. For the first time in days, she asked for pancakes. Emily laughed quietly. I think that is the best news I have heard all week. Lily smiled. Can we get the ones with strawberries after I go home? We absolutely can. Those simple words felt like a promise Emily had almost been afraid to make. After Lily finished breakfast, a nurse arrived with several discharge updates and a thin white envelope. This was left for you. Emily accepted it carefully. There is no name? The nurse shook her head. It came from the billing office. After the nurse left, Emily opened the envelope. Inside was only a single receipt. No handwritten note. No business card. No signature. Just one clean sheet of paper. Across the center in dark black letters were the same words she still could not fully believe. Paid in full. Nothing else. She slowly turned the page over. Blank. She checked inside the envelope again. Empty. No clues. No way to say thank you. Emily folded the receipt with surprising care, as though it had become something far more valuable than paper. Some gifts were measured in dollars. Others were measured in hope. This one somehow carried both. Later that afternoon, after Lily had fallen asleep again, Emily walked downstairs toward the hospital lobby. She stopped at the reception desk. "I know this may sound strange," she began gently, "but is there any way I could thank the person who paid my daughter's bill?" The receptionist offered an apologetic smile. "I wish I could help." They requested complete privacy. "Not even a first name?" "I am afraid not." Emily nodded politely. "Thank you anyway." She walked away without another question. Near the hospital entrance stood an elderly volunteer arranging fresh flowers inside a large glass vase. One white lily slipped from the bouquet and landed softly on the floor. Without thinking, Emily bent down and picked it up. "Here you go." The volunteer smiled warmly. "Thank you, dear. You look lighter today." Emily glanced toward the elevator that would soon take her back to Lily. "I think someone gave me a reason to be." Across town, inside the top floor of Grant Holdings, the morning looked very different. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire skyline. Meetings filled every calendar. Stock reports covered conference tables. Executives discussed acquisitions worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet CEO number 17 found his attention drifting elsewhere. His assistant placed a folder beside him. "The Children's Foundation proposals are ready." He nodded without opening them. Instead, he looked toward the rainwater still clinging to the glass outside. "Did the hospital contact us?" "No, sir. They respected your request." He remained silent. His assistant studied him for a moment. "You are still thinking about them, the mother and her daughter?" He answered honestly. "Yes. It is unusual." "It is." Another quiet pause settled over the office. Finally, the assistant spoke again. "Most people who receive help spend their energy trying to find the person who gave it." The billionaire allowed himself the faintest smile. "I do not think she is looking for money. I think she is looking for a chance to say thank you." Meanwhile, several miles away, Emily carefully placed the folded receipt inside the small family Bible she kept in her purse. She closed it gently. "If I never learn your name," she whispered, "I hope life is as kind to you as you were to us." She had no way of knowing. At that very moment, the man she was praying for was standing beneath the same quiet sky, completely unaware that her gratitude had already become the most valuable thing anyone had given him in years. That evening, the rain had finally stopped. The streets still glistened beneath rows of amber streetlights, reflecting passing cars like ribbons of liquid gold. A cool breeze drifted through downtown, carrying the familiar scent of wet pavement and fresh coffee from a corner cafe that had just turned on its neon sign. Emily stepped out of the hospital with Lily sleeping peacefully in her arms. The little girl rested her head against her mother's shoulder, holding the worn stuffed rabbit as tightly as ever. A volunteer had insisted on calling a taxi. Emily had smiled politely. "I appreciate it, but I think we will walk a little first." The volunteer looked surprised. "It is almost a mile to the bus stop." Emily nodded. "I know. I just want her to breathe fresh air." Sometimes healing needed medicine. Sometimes it needed quiet. As they slowly crossed the hospital plaza, Emily noticed movement near one of the benches beneath an old maple tree. A young father sat there alone. His jacket was soaked from the earlier rain. His shoulders were slumped. In his arms rested a little boy who could not have been older than 4, wrapped tightly inside a thin blanket. The child slept soundly. The father did not. Emily slowed her steps. She almost continued walking. Almost. Then she remembered the folded receipt resting safely inside her purse. Someone she had never met had changed her world only hours earlier. She gently adjusted Lily in her arms and walked toward the bench. "Excuse me." The young man looked up, startled. "I am sorry," he said quickly. We are not bothering anyone. You are not. Emily smiled softly. I was just wondering. Are you waiting for someone? He looked away before answering. My son was discharged tonight. Congratulations. It should feel that way. His voice cracked with quiet embarrassment. But I spent the last of my money getting him home. My phone died. The buses stopped running. I cannot afford another taxi. He laughed once. A tired laugh. I guess I am trying to figure out how to carry him 3 miles. Emily looked at the sleeping boy, then at Lily, then back at the exhausted father. She reached into her wallet. There was not much left. Just enough cash to buy groceries tomorrow. Enough for 1 bus ride. Enough to make life a little easier for herself. She hesitated for only a heartbeat. Then she folded the bills into his hand. Please. He immediately shook his head. I cannot take this. You can. You need it too. Emily smiled with quiet certainty. Someone reminded me today that kindness does not disappear when you pass it on. The young father's eyes filled with emotion. I do not even know your name. You do not have to. He lowered his head. Thank you. No. Emily gently adjusted Lily's blanket once more. Take your little boy home. A few feet away, an elderly security officer had witnessed the entire exchange while locking one of the hospital's side entrances. He watched silently as the young father called for a cab, holding the folded bills as though they were worth far more than their actual value. The officer glanced toward Emily. She never looked back to see whether anyone had noticed. She simply continued walking toward the bus stop with Lily sleeping peacefully against her shoulder. The security officer smiled to himself. In nearly 20 years working outside that hospital, he had seen families leave with fear. He had seen families leave with relief. But he had rarely seen someone who had received a miracle immediately become one for someone else. Across the city, inside a quiet apartment overlooking the river, CEO number 17 stood alone beside his living room window. The skyline shimmered beneath the clear night sky. His phone vibrated softly. A brief message appeared from the hospital's security director. There was no request, no explanation, only one sentence. You may want to see today's lobby camera recording. He looked at the message for a moment. Then, without realizing why, he opened the secure video link. Within seconds, he saw a familiar woman carrying her sleeping daughter across the hospital plaza. He watched her stop. He watched her listen. And then he watched her quietly give away part of the little she still had. He did not say a word. He simply remained standing before the screen, his expression softer than it had been in years. For the first time, he realized that paying a hospital bill had saved more than one family. It had awakened something that money alone could never buy. The next morning arrived with clear skies. Sunlight spilled across the city as though the storm had never happened, warming sidewalks that had been washed clean overnight. People hurried toward offices, schools, and coffee shops, each carrying a different story, each believing their own was the only one that mattered. But sometime, one quiet act of kindness was already writing itself into the lives of strangers. At St. Matthew Medical Center, the elderly security officer who had watched Emily the night before stepped into the employee break room carrying a box of fresh donuts. The young receptionist looked up with a smile. Someone is in a good mood today. He chuckled. I saw something last night. What happened? He rested his coffee on the table before answering. A mother who had almost nothing gave part of it away before she even left the hospital. The room grew unexpectedly quiet. Even the nurses who had been preparing morning charts paused to listen. He told them about the young father, the sleeping children, the folded bills, the woman who never waited for anyone to thank her. When he finished, nobody spoke for several seconds. Finally, one pediatric nurse reached into her purse. There is a family on the 3rd floor struggling with meal vouchers. She placed a $20 bill on the table. Buy them breakfast. Another nurse smiled. I will cover lunch. The receptionist quietly added her own contribution. So will I. No meeting had been scheduled. No campaign had been announced. One story had simply found willing hearts. Across town, the young father from the previous evening pulled his son from the back seat of a taxi outside a modest apartment building. The driver smiled. You are all set. The father looked at the fare on the meter. "You forgot to charge me." The driver shook his head. "No, I remembered something my grandmother used to say." He smiled warmly. "If kindness reaches your front door, do not close it there." The father stood speechless as the taxi drove away. He looked down at his little boy, who had finally begun smiling again after days in the hospital. Perhaps hope traveled farther than money ever could. Meanwhile, Emily returned to the diner just before the breakfast rush. The familiar smell of bacon, fresh biscuits, and hot coffee welcomed her like an old friend. Her manager noticed her almost immediately. "You should still be home." Emily tied her apron with a grateful smile. "I would rather be earning than worrying." He nodded. "I expected you to say that." An elderly customer sitting alone by the window waved her over. "You look happier today." Emily poured fresh coffee into the woman's mug. "My daughter is getting better." "That is wonderful." "It is." Emily hesitated for a moment. "Someone reminded me that good people still exist." The customer smiled. "They always have. They just do not always announce themselves." Several miles away, CEO number 17 sat in his office replaying the hospital security footage for the third time. Not because he had missed anything, because he could not understand it. His assistant entered quietly. "You have a board meeting in 10 minutes. He nodded but did not move. "Do you know what surprises me?" The assistant waited. She never looked around to see if anyone was watching. He paused. "Most people become generous when there is an audience." But she believed she was completely alone. His assistant glanced toward the paused image on the monitor. Emily was frozen mid-step, placing folded cash into the young father's hand while holding Lily against her shoulder. No cameras. No applause. No expectation. The billionaire slowly leaned back in his chair. "In business, we spend years trying to measure character." His eyes never left the screen. "Last night." She revealed hers in less than 1 minute. Outside his office window, the city continued moving with its usual urgency. Inside, however, something had begun moving much more slowly. For the first time in years, a man who could purchase almost anything found himself searching for something that could never be bought. He wanted to understand the woman whose first instinct, after receiving compassion, had been to give it away. 3 days passed. Lily grew stronger with each sunrise. She laughed more often, ate a little more at every meal, and insisted on walking through the apartment without asking her mother to carry her. To Emily, those ordinary moments felt extraordinary. Hope had quietly returned. At Grant Holdings, however, something far less ordinary was unfolding. CEO number 17 stood in the executive conference room, while senior directors discussed quarterly forecasts projected across a wall-sized screen. Profits had exceeded expectations. Investors were pleased. Every chart pointed upward. Yet his attention lingered somewhere else. When the meeting finally ended, he remained seated. His assistant closed the conference room door behind the last executive. "You have been distracted all week." The billionaire looked out across the skyline. "I know. Is this about the woman from the hospital?" "It is." His assistant hesitated before speaking again. "I made a few discreet inquiries." The billionaire slowly turned. "And?" She did exactly what the security footage suggested. He handed over a thin folder. "Single mother. Works mornings at a neighborhood diner. No criminal record. No lawsuits. No social media campaigns asking for donations. No interviews. No attempts to discover who paid the hospital bill." The billionaire quietly opened the file. Inside were only ordinary details. An apartment lease. Employment records. Medical appointments for Lily. School enrollment papers. Nothing remarkable. Yet somehow, everything about her felt remarkable. His assistant studied him carefully. "You could meet her." He slowly shook his head. "Not like this. If I arrive as the man who paid her hospital bill, gratitude will answer every question." He closed the folder. "I want honesty." The assistant nodded. "So you want to meet the real person?" "I think I already have." The billionaire smiled faintly. "I simply want to be certain." That afternoon, Emily finished her shift at the diner and stopped by the neighborhood grocery store before catching the bus home. She carefully compared prices, placing only the essentials into her basket: bread, milk, fresh apples because Lily had asked for them. Then she noticed an elderly woman standing near the checkout lane, quietly searching through her purse. Her hands trembled. "I am sorry," the woman whispered to the cashier. "I must have left my wallet at home." The cashier smiled politely. "I can hold your groceries if you would like to come back." The woman looked embarrassed. "It is just, I take the city bus." Emily glanced at her own basket. She thought about rent. She thought about next week's utility bill. Then she stepped forward. "I have it." The elderly woman turned immediately. "Oh no, I could not possibly ask that." "You did not." Emily smiled. "I am offering." The cashier rang up the groceries. The total was not small. Emily paid anyway. The older woman reached for her hand. "Why would you do this for someone you have never met?" Emily looked toward the store entrance where afternoon sunlight streamed through the glass doors. "Because a stranger reminded me that difficult days do not last forever." The woman blinked away grateful tears. "I hope life rewards your kindness." Emily smiled gently. "I think it already has." Several aisles away, a man wearing a navy baseball cap and a simple gray jacket quietly watched the entire exchange from behind a display of canned soup. No security team, no expensive suit, no polished limousine waiting outside. Just CEO number 17, unnoticed among ordinary shoppers. He had entered the store only minutes earlier after leaving a nearby community meeting. He had never expected to see her there. He watched as Emily carried her small grocery bag with one hand and held the door open for the elderly woman with the other. She never looked around. She never searched for approval. She simply continued walking toward the bus stop. The billionaire remained standing in silence. For several long moments, he forgot the groceries still resting in his own shopping basket. Then, almost to himself, he spoke softly. It was never about the hospital. His reflection stared back at him through the front glass of the store. The hospital only revealed who she already was. For the first time in many years, he realized he was no longer curious about what Emily needed. He was beginning to wonder what he could learn from her. The following Saturday arrived with crisp autumn air, and a sky so clear it seemed to stretch forever. Maple leaves drifted across the sidewalks in shades of gold and crimson, gathering around benches where families enjoyed the quiet afternoon. It was the kind of day that encouraged people to slow down, even if only for a little while. Emily had promised Lily a trip to the neighborhood park. Nothing expensive, just fresh air, homemade sandwiches, and an hour away from hospital memories. For Lily, it felt like the greatest adventure in the world. She chased pigeons across the grass, laughing so freely that Emily stopped for a moment simply to listen. Only a week earlier, she had wondered if she would ever hear that laugh again. Not far away, another visitor entered the park wearing faded blue jeans, worn hiking boots, and a dark flannel jacket. A simple baseball cap shaded his face. There was nothing about him that suggested private jets, boardrooms, or billion-dollar negotiations. That was exactly how CEO number 17 intended it. He had chosen to come alone. No driver, no assistant, no security detail walking behind him. Just another man enjoying a quiet afternoon. As he approached a small coffee stand near the playground, he noticed an elderly groundskeeper struggling to lift a heavy bag of fallen leaves. Before the billionaire could step forward, Emily was already there. "Let me help." The groundskeeper smiled apologetically. "You have your daughter with you. Lily can supervise us." The little girl giggled proudly. "I am very good at supervising." All three of them laughed. Together, Emily and the older man carried the bag to the maintenance cart. Took less than a minute. When they finished, the groundskeeper reached into his pocket. "I can at least buy you a cup of coffee." Emily shook her head. "You already gave me something." "What was that?" "A reason to teach my daughter that helping people does not require a special occasion." The groundskeeper looked at Lily. "You have a wonderful mother." Lily smiled as though everyone already knew that. "I know." Standing only a few yards away, the billionaire quietly watched every word. There was no performance, no audience, only kindness appearing as naturally as breathing. A few minutes later, Emily walked toward the coffee stand. She ordered one small hot chocolate for Lily and a plain black coffee for herself. The cashier frowned at the register. "I am sorry. Our card reader just stopped working." Emily searched inside her wallet. Only a few dollar bills remained, not enough for both drinks. She looked at Lily. "Sweetheart, maybe we can just..." Before she could finish, a calm voice spoke beside her. "I have cash." She turned. The man in the baseball cap smiled politely. "Please allow me." Emily immediately shook her head. "That is very kind, but I cannot let a stranger pay for us." He smiled again. "Then let me pay for the coffee. You can buy the hot chocolate." Emily hesitated. It was a small compromise, one that allowed dignity to remain untouched. Finally, she nodded. "Thank you." The cashier prepared the drinks. When they stepped aside, the man extended his hand. "My name is Daniel." He offered only his first name. Emily accepted the handshake. "I am Emily. This is my daughter, Lily." Lily lifted her cup with both hands. "Thank you for helping my mom." Daniel laughed softly. "I think your mother helps far more people than I do." Emily smiled. "I try." They stood together for a quiet moment, watching children race across the playground. No one hurried to fill the silence. It felt comfortable, honest. Daniel glanced toward Lily. "She seems much healthier." Emily looked surprised. "How did you know she had been sick?" For the briefest moment, time seemed to pause. Then Daniel answered without hesitation. "I volunteer with several children's charities. I have spent enough time around hospitals to recognize that look of relief." Emily's shoulders relaxed. "That makes sense." She never questioned him again. As Lily ran toward the swings, Emily looked after her with grateful eyes. "I used to think miracles were impossible." She smiled quietly. "Now I think they sometimes arrive disguised as ordinary people." Daniel followed her gaze. His expression softened. "So do I." Neither of them realized that, in that simple conversation, neither had spoken the biggest truth they were carrying. She still did not know he was the anonymous stranger who had changed her life. And he still had not told her that meeting her had quietly begun changing his own. Monday morning brought an unexpected invitation. As Emily finished wiping down the last table before the breakfast rush slowed, her manager stepped out of the office holding a cream-colored envelope. "This came for you." She looked up in surprise. "For me? There is no return address." Emily dried her hands on her apron before carefully opening it. Inside was a simple invitation printed on thick white paper. St. Matthew Medical Center. Annual Children's Hope Gala. An evening dedicated to families, volunteers, nurses, and donors whose compassion had changed young lives. 2 guest passes. Emily frowned softly. There must be some mistake. Her manager smiled. "I do not think so. You deserve one good surprise after another." That evening, Emily borrowed a modest navy blue dress from a neighbor. Nothing extravagant, just elegant enough to show respect for the occasion. Lily wore a pale cream dress with a small blue ribbon in her blonde hair. She looked healthy, bright, almost impossible to recognize as the little girl who had occupied room 214 only days before. When they entered the ballroom, soft piano music drifted through the air. Round tables filled the grand hall. Doctors greeted former patients. Volunteers embraced families they had helped. Laughter echoed beneath crystal chandeliers. Emily quietly admired the room. So many people helped so many families. Lily squeezed her mother's hand. "Maybe the nice stranger is here." Emily smiled. "I hope so. I still owe him the biggest thank you in the world." Across the room, CEO number 17 stood near the stage in a perfectly tailored black suit. Gone were the baseball cap and flannel jacket. Gone was Daniel. Tonight, he was exactly who the business world expected him to be. Chairman of the hospital foundation. Lead benefactor. One of the evening's principal speakers. Emily glanced toward the stage. The moment her eyes met his, everything inside her became still. Her smile slowly faded into quiet confusion. She knew that face. Not from television. Not from a newspaper. From the park. The coffee stand. The warm conversation beneath the autumn trees. Daniel. Before she could gather her thoughts, the master of ceremonies welcomed everyone. After recognizing nurses, physicians, and volunteers, he paused. There is one person we would also like to thank. The room grew silent. Our Children's Emergency Fund has helped hundreds of families over the years. But one anonymous contribution this month reminded all of us why generosity matters. Emily looked down instinctively. She never imagined the next words would change everything. The emergency care of one little girl was fully funded by the chairman of the foundation, Mr. Daniel Grant. Applause filled the ballroom. Emily did not hear any of it. She slowly lifted her eyes toward the stage. Daniel Grant, CEO number 17. The anonymous stranger. The man at the park. The man who had bought coffee. The man who had quietly paid Lily's hospital bill. He looked directly at her. Not proudly. Not expecting gratitude. Simply hoping she understood why he had remained silent. Emily felt tears gathering despite every effort to stop them. Lily looked up. Mom. Emily knelt beside her daughter. The man I told you about. The one who helped us. Lily searched the stage. The man who bought our hot chocolate? Emily nodded slowly. Yes, it was him. At that very moment, the master of ceremonies continued. Mr. Grant has asked that tonight remain focused on the families, not on himself. He never intended his contribution to become public. The only reason we mention it tonight is because another family insisted on telling us how that single act of kindness inspired them to help someone else before they even left the hospital. The ballroom became completely quiet. Several nurses smiled knowingly. The elderly security officer lowered his head with quiet pride. Daniel stepped toward the microphone. His voice remained calm. I believed I paid one hospital bill. He paused. I was wrong. His eyes found Emily once more. I only started a story that someone else chose to continue. In that single moment, surrounded by hundreds of people, Emily finally understood the truth she had been searching for. The greatest gift he had given her was never the money. It was the chance to believe that kindness could still change the direction of an ordinary life. And somehow, she had changed his as well. The applause slowly faded, but the feeling inside the ballroom remained. No one rushed toward the exits. Doctors lingered beside former patients. Volunteers embraced families they had once comforted. For a few quiet minutes, titles no longer mattered. Everyone simply stood together as people whose lives had crossed because someone had chosen kindness over convenience. Daniel stepped down from the stage. He did not walk toward reporters. He walked toward Emily. She met him halfway. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Some conversations were too meaningful to begin with words. Finally, Emily smiled through grateful eyes. So, it was you. Daniel nodded gently. It was. You never told me. I never wanted the gift to become about the giver. Emily lowered her eyes for a brief moment. I searched for you. I wanted to thank you. I know. She looked back at him. How? The hospital told me someone kept asking for the anonymous donor. A soft laugh escaped them both. Not because anything was funny, because the truth had finally found its place. Emily took a slow breath. You saved my daughter. Daniel quietly shook his head. The doctors saved Lily. I only removed one obstacle standing in their way. She looked at him with quiet certainty. To a mother, that obstacle was everything. Daniel did not answer immediately. Instead, he glanced toward Lily, who was happily coloring with several children at a nearby table. Do you know what stayed with me? Emily waited. The day I paid the bill, I believed I was helping one family. He smiled softly. Then I watched you give away money you could barely spare. I realized something. What was that? Compassion does not end when it is received. It begins again. Emily felt tears warming her eyes. I almost walked past that father. Daniel looked surprised. You did. She nodded. I was exhausted. I was scared. I kept thinking about everything Lily and I still needed. She paused. Then I remembered how a stranger had made me feel only hours earlier. I wanted someone else to feel that, even if only for a few minutes. Daniel smiled. That decision changed more lives than you know. Just then, the hospital director approached them. There is one more thing. Both turned. We have decided to rename our Children's Emergency Fund. Emily looked confused. Daniel frowned slightly. I was not aware of that. The director smiled. Neither of you was. He unfolded a small plaque wrapped in blue velvet. Elegant silver letters reflected the warm ballroom lights. The Kindness Forward Fund. Beneath the title was a single sentence. One act of compassion becomes another. And another. And another. The room filled with gentle applause once more. Emily covered her mouth. Daniel remained silent. Neither name appeared on the plaque. Neither face. Because the story had never belonged to one person. It belonged to everyone willing to continue it. Months later, the fund quietly helped hundreds of families. Most never learned who made the first donation. Many never knew Emily's story. That was exactly how both of them wanted it. Every year, Lily returned to the hospital with homemade cards for children receiving treatment. She never forgot room 214. She never forgot the anonymous receipt that had once carried only two simple words. Paid in full. One afternoon, as she carefully placed another drawing into a donation box, she looked up at her mother. Mom. Yes, sweetheart. When I grow up, I want to help people before they ask. Emily smiled. I think you already have. Across the courtyard, Daniel watched quietly from beneath the blooming maple trees. He never interrupted. He never asked for recognition. Seeing Lily healthy was more than enough. Sometimes people believe miracles arrive with loud celebrations, impossible moments, or extraordinary signs. But real miracles often arrive much more quietly. A hand reaching toward a stranger. A burden lifted without being announced. A heart choosing generosity when no one is watching. Money can solve a problem. Kindness can change a person. And when one changed person chooses to lift another, the miracle never truly ends.